Hello everyone. So let's start the part 2 of size reduction. So in this presentation we are going to cover the theories which are associated with the size reduction, different mechanism of size reduction, and few of the equipments which are used in the process of size reduction. So without wasting any time, let's start. So you see the theories of size reduction, or you can say the milling. So basically a number of the theories has been proposed from time to time to establish a general relationship between the energy of input that has been used for reducing the size and energy of input and degree of size reduction that is produced, or degree of size reduction that has been achieved after completion of the process, right? So the theories are, first of all, we have the Rittinger's theory, next we have the Kick's theory, then we have the Bohn's theory, and lastly we have the Walker's theory. So let's go in details with each of this theory. So as per the Rittinger's hypothesis, or you can say theory, the energy E, we have symbolized the energy as capital E, used in the size reduction process, it is proportional to the new surface area produced. Now what is the new surface area? Suppose the earlier surface area of a bigger ball is 50, the new surface area of the smaller ball after the crushing or size reduction, it is 10. So the new surface area, the energy, it is proportional to the new surface area. So there is a relation. As per this relation, as per the Rittinger's theory, E is equal to Kr Sn minus Si. So Si, it is the initial surface area, Kr, it is the Rittinger's constant of energy per unit area, and Sn, it is the new surface, Si, it is the initial surface area. Clear? The next theory, it is the Kick's theory. Now according to the Kick's theory, the energy used in deforming, or you can say size reduction or fracturing a set of particles of equivalent shape. Suppose a set of particles, suppose we have taken marble balls of equivalent sizes, right? Now the energy used for deforming these balls or fracturing these balls is proportional to the ratio of the change in size. So as per this theory, E, energy E is equal to Kk log di divided by dn, where Kk, it is the Kick's constant, it is the energy per unit mass, di, it is the initial particle diameter, and dn, it is the new particle diameter. Then we have the Bohn's theory. Now as per the Bohn's theory, the energy used to crack or to break, that is the energy used in crack propagation or to break, is proportional to the new crack length produced. So here we are going to deal with the terms in terms of the length which is produced. So suppose the initial diameter of the bigger ball is 5 cm, the newer diameter of the smaller ball after crushing, it is 2 cm. Now the energy used in a crack is proportional to the new crack length produced. So as per the Bohn theory, it says that the energy required for deforming a set of particles of equivalent shape, suppose all the particles are spherical in shape, it is proportional to the change in the particle dimension. So as per this theory, E is equal to 2 kb 1 divided by square root of dn minus 1 divided by square root of di, where kb is the Bohn work index, right, which is actually the energy mass. So this is the energy mass. Di here, di, it is the initial diameter of the particles, it is expressed in the micrometer. Dn, it is the new diameter of the particle after decades, it is expressed in also micrometer. Now the last theory, it is known as the Walker's theory. So Walker's theory, it is actually the generalized form of energy and size relationship. I repeat, Walker's theory, it is a generalized differential form of energy and size relationship that can be shown to link theories of, or to the link, it is this Walker's theory, it is linked to the Rittinger's as well as Kick's theory. So as per the Walker's theory, the delta E is equal to minus kW delta D divided by delta to the power n is the exponential. So here kW is a Walker constant, D it is a size function which can be characterized by mean size, or you can say by mean weight function, and n is the exponent, right? Now if the value of n is equal to, suppose if the value of n is equal to 1, here n is equal to 1, for particles defined by weight function, if we integrate this equation, it will give you the Kick's type theory, similar to the Kick's theory, right? Now if the value of the n is 2 here, it will give Rittinger type solution as a result. Thus a scenario will arise. So when designing the milling for coarse particle, if we design the milling or the size reduction for coarse particle with a size of greater than 1 micrometer, the most appropriate value of n is 1 here. So if it is 1, then it will follow the Kick's type theory, and if it is value, or if the value, or if the size of the particle is less than 1 micrometer, then it will, the value of the n will here, it will become 2. But if the size of the particle it is in between 1 and 2, that is 1.5, then the particle will not follow either the Kick's theory or the Rittinger type theory. But the thing is that none of these laws they apply well in practice, and these are actually mainly of historical interest. They have negligible practical application. Now you see grinding. So we all know that what is grinding. It is generally the breaking of particle by virtue or the virtue of mechanical energy, right? So the grinding process, it is divided into two types. First of all, the plane grinding. In the plane grinding, what actually happens? The substance it is milled, or the substance it is crushed to a free flowing meal consisting of sufficiently uniform particle size. Suppose we have taken a piece of stone, it is milled, or you can say it is crushed into stone dust of uniform size. This is the plane grinding. Whereas the selective grinding, so selective grinding, in selective grinding, the grinding operation it is carried out in various stages. Means the selective grinding, it takes place in different stages depending upon the difference in the structural and mechanical property of the components of the grain. Suppose we are going to grind it into 2 or 3 subsequent stages. Earlier it will be break down into a medium size, then again it will be break down into a smaller size particle, then finally it will get break down into a fine particle, right? Now degree of grinding. So as per the degree of grinding, the ratio of the overall surface area of the grinded product or grounded product to the overall surface area of the feed. Degree of grinding means the ratio of overall surface area of the grind product or ground product, means the product which we got after the grinding process. Suppose we have taken the surface area of the stone dust divided by overall surface area of the feed, means the surface area of the stone. This is known as the degree of grinding. Degree of grinding, it is a ratio between the final surface area of the product divided by the initial surface area of the feed, right? So this is the degree of grinding. So SP divided by SF, where SP it is the overall surface area of the product, SF it is the overall surface area of the feed, and DG it is the degree of grinding. Apart from grinding, we also have one principle, which is known as milling. So milling efficiency, if somebody asks you what is milling efficiency, milling efficiency is simply the coefficient, or you can say it is a product. It is a product of coefficient of hulling. It is also known as E hulling into or multiplied by coefficient of the wholeness of the kernel, EWK. Now what is coefficient of hulling? So coefficient of hulling means percentage of hulled grains. Hull means it is broken down into granules. You can say it is broken down into granules, or it is the size of the hull particle, it is quite bigger as compared to that of the your powders, or you can say free flowing powders, right? So the percentage of the hulled grain obtained from the total amount of the grain input. Suppose we have put a grain of equivalent weight of 1 kg. Now percentage of the hull grain that is obtained. Suppose we have obtained grain of half kg. So this is the coefficient of hulling. Similarly, coefficient of wholeness of kernel. Now what is coefficient of wholeness of kernel? It is the ratio of the amount of the kernel crushed grains, means amount of the kernel that has been crushed into grains, and merely waste obtained by any milling process or milling system. Means suppose we have taken 1 kilo of kernel, we have subjected this kernel for size reduction. After the size reduction process or using the size reduction equipment, at the end of the process we have got suppose 250 gram of your grains, and remaining 75 gram has been, or 750 gram has been wasted. So it is the ratio of the amount of the kernel that is crushed grain and the milli waste obtained from the milling system. This is the ratio. So the ratio will be 25 divided by, or 25 by 75. Clear? Now you see mechanism of size reduction. So in the mechanism, first of all we have cutting. So what is cutting? So during this process of cutting, the material is cut into small pieces by means of sharp blade or any sharp instrument, right? Which we also used to follow in our household activity, right? The next one, it is the compression. So compression means during this process, what actually happens? The material is crushed by applying the pressure with a suitable device, right? We have used any device, we have put the pressure to crush the substance. Suppose simply if we take the walnut, if we crush the walnut with a hammer, that is the compression, right? Impact. Now what is impact? So during the process of impact, as the term itself it reveals that it is more or less stationary. How? Because in the process of impact, it is hit by an object moving at a high speed, or a moving particle strikes a stationary surface and the material is broken. For example, we have a walnut at a stationary position over the surface of the table, or suppose any surface, right? If we move on, or if we move or force the hammer over the walnut, the hammer it is in the dynamic position or it is in moving state, the walnut it is in a stationary state, that is the impact. Or if we release the walnut from certain distance from the ground, and if we leave it or if we release it, it will go and strike the ground. The ground it is in the stationary phase, whereas the walnut is coming down with certain force. Here, the next it is the attrition. So during the process of attrition, the material it is subjected to a pressure, as in case of compression, right? But in compression, what actually is it was there? The material it is crushed by application of pressure, but in attrition, the material will be crushed, and the compression pressure will be applied between two surfaces. But these two surfaces, they will be in relative motion to each other, which causes the shear. For example, if we hold a ball or anything in between our hand, and if we move the hand in opposite direction, suppose we have taken a ball in our palm and the left hand it is moving towards the forward direction, the right hand it is moving towards the backward direction, that force it is known as the attrition. It is also known as the force that is used to induce the shear. Now you see method of size reduction. So size reduction, basically it is divided into two general categories. First of all, manual size reduction. It is done by manually, by hand. Here it is done in small scale. You also perform this sort of thing in our household activities. For example, trituration, levication, intervention. These are the manual process of size reduction which are performed in our day-to-day life, right? Apart from that, we have also mechanical size reduction. For mechanical size reduction, we always prefer the machines, and mechanical size reduction is generally used for large scale work. Now, the size reduction equipment. See, the selection of the size reduction equipment, it depends on many factors. So first of all, the size reduction equipment selection, it depends upon the properties of the material to be reduced. We have to first consider the property of the material, whether it is abrasive or whether it is tough or whether it is soft. We have to first determine the property of the material, then only we can select the equipment, right? Next, the equipment selection, it also depends upon the initial size of the particle. What is the initial size of the particle? Whether it is bigger, smaller, average, what is the size? Then the degree of size reduction required means the degree of the product we want to get. Whether we want to get fine particles, whether we want to get ultra fine particles, or whether we want to get just average size particles. Next, various size reduction equipments are used in the pharmaceutical operation. These are the ball mill, hammer mill, cutter mill, fluid energy mill, roller mill, and runner mill, edge runner mill, hand mill, Bohr's stone mill, colloid mill. These are different types of size means reduction equipment which are used in the pharmaceutical operation. But basically among these, mostly which are used in the pharmaceutical manufacturing processes are ball mill, cutter mill, hammer mill, roller mill, and a fluid mill. So let's start with a classic one that is used in our laboratory scale production or in our day-to-day life also. This is known as the mortar and the pestle. So this is the mortar pestle, right? You know that this is a classic scale and the most simplest equipment used for grinding, right? Now it works on an application of attrition and pressure, because when we are going to give or start the grinding process, we will first strike it. So at that time the mortar, it will have the pressure over the substance to be grinded, right? Moreover, upon the subsequent stage, what we will do, we will start moving this mortar in this direction or in this direction. So this will move. When it will move, it will generate the attrition over the particle to be crushed, right? Now in this equipment, both the mortar and the pestle, they are rotating, right? So the equipment cannot be provided, this mortar and pestle, it cannot be provided with a sieve for continuous removal of the fines. That is the biggest drawback, because suppose some of the particles they have grinded easily, or at the earlier stage we got the powder, but remaining they are in the bigger size. So in other machine we have the sieve. They generally help to separate the particles. So here in mortar pestle we don't have a sieve fitted, so that we cannot separate out the means reduced particle and the unreduced particle subsequently during the process, right? The next equipment, it is known as the ball mill. So the mill which is partially filled with the balls of steels or pebbles, this is known as ball mills. Sometimes it is also known as the jar mills. So the basis of the ball mill is that this will work on the principle of impact and attrition. The ball mill, it works in the principle of impact and attrition. So if we see the construction of the ball mill, it consists of a cylindrical container. I will show you. It consists of a cylindrical container first of all, right? The length of the cylinder, as it is a cylindrical container, the length of the cylinder, it is slightly greater than its diameter, means it is quite long, which is partially filled with the balls of what? Steels or pebbles, right? Which are made from the same material as that of the cylindrical vessel. Suppose the cylindrical vessel, it is made up of iron, the balls will also get made up of the iron only, right? Now the cylindrical vessel, it is mounted on a metallic frame. The vessel, it is mounted on a metallic frame, and it rotates horizontally by hand or sometimes mechanically. Nowadays we all get the automatic ball mill only. So the upper side of the vessel, it is fitted with a highly closed lid. Lid means there is an opening through which the material, it is introduced. Whatever the material you want to crush, you can introduce the material through this lid, right? So this is the diagram. So this is the cylinder, right? The length of the cylinder, it is quite bigger as compared to that of its diameter, right? Here we have the balls. These are the balls, white colors, these are the balls, and the black color, these are the drugs which are to be crushed, right? And this is mounted in a horizontal frame. Now this can be, sometimes it can be by virtue of the handle, it can be mechanically rotated or horizontally moved. Sometimes it is moved by the virtue of a motor. Now you see, within this cylinder there are balls or pebbles, right? So at the low speed, the balls will slide like this when you are moving this in a lower speed. At the high speed, they will generally centrifuge. The process of milling, it is reduced because it is centrifuge. The appropriate or the correct speed, it is cascading. Here you see, it is centrifuge but to a lower dimension. So here, once the drug, it is crushed in between the balls, it will again fall here. Again it will get crushed between these balls, again it will fall here. In this direction, the ball will move and the drug, it is going to get crushed. So this is the ball mill in a larger scale, right? So how it works, the mechanism of action is simple. The material to be grounded, it is introduced into this cylinder via the lead, right? The rotation of the mill at the slow speed, earlier initially it is rotated at a slow speed. Then the thing is that we have to avoid the rotation at the high speed, because at the high speed the milling efficiency is less, right? Now after getting the appropriate rotation, we will take out the material from the vessel after some time, right? It is passed through the sieve to get the suitable size. Once we will sieve it, we will get the fine particle, and the remaining undivided particle will remain in the sieve, and thus we get the desired particle size. Now use. See, it is used for grinding hard abrasive material, this ball mill, right? Moreover, they can be easily sterilized. This ball mill can be easily sterilized, so it can be also used for grinding the drugs which are need for parenteral. Parenteral means for giving intravenously or intramuscularly in the injection form, and it is also suitable for grinding the drug which are meant for ophthalmic preparation. So it can be used for both batch as well as continuous operation. Now what are the advantages? The ball mills, they are economical and they are simple to operate, right? Moreover, they can be used for both wet grinding as well as dry grinding methods. Moreover, they afford a large grinding surface with a compact space. That is the most advantage of the ball mill. They offer a large grinding surface with a compact space. Moreover, a wide variety of material can be grounded with it, as we have already stated. And they are very easy to clean compared to other types of the mill, because you can simply take out the balls to clean, and even you can clean out the cylinder. But there is a disadvantage. It is that the ball mill, it is not applicable for soft materials. The next one, it is the cutter mill. Cutter means cutting, right? Here we will have blade. So basis. The cutter mill, it works on the basis of cutting, first of all, right? Now regarding its construction, the cutter mill is fitted with two types of knives. One knife, it is stationary, the another knife, it is rotating one. So the stationary knives, they are mounted on the casing. I will show you how they are mounted on the casing of the machine. And the lower part of the machine, the cutter mill, it is fitted with a screen where the sieve is there. Means once the cutter mill has cut the material, once the material has reached the desired size, it will go through the sieve and it will get collected. So this is a cutter mill. Let's see the construction. This is the hooper from where we are going to give the feed, right? These are the stationary blade. They are attached with the casing, right? These are the rotating blade. So there will be a motor which will rotate, right? And there we have a screen. So once the particle size has reached the desired size or the particle reduction size reduction has been taken, it will come through this screen and the product is collected here. So mechanism of action, first of all, feeding the particle through the hopper, right? Milling through the movement of the rotating knives against the stationary knives. Then the size reduction, it occurs by fracture of the particles between the two set of knives. And finally the screen retain particles until a sufficient degree of size reduction occurs, then you can take out. Now use it is used to obtain coarse degree of size reduction of soft material such as roots and peels before extraction. For herbal drug production, it is basically used. Moreover, it is used for crude animal as well as vegetable drugs. Now limitation. The limitation of the cutter mill is that it cannot be used for friable material, first of all, right? The next thing is that the feed size, it should be always less than 1 inch. The size of the feed which we are using for grinding in the cutter mill, it should be less than 1 inch thick and should not exceed the length of the cutting knife, or else it cannot be cut. The material which is used for the cutter mill, it should be pre-milled. Pre-mill means it should be previously crushed before entering into the, before you feed the material into the cutter mill, you have to pre-milled, means previously you have to cut or you have to grind the particle, and it is usually suspended in the stream of air or liquid when it is feed in the mill. So thank you everyone for your patience hearing. If you like the video, just press the like icon. You can share this video with your classmates, and for further notification from this channel, you can subscribe my channel. Thank you once again.